Phrases we hear our entire lives have become words to live by no matter our station in life. Brush your teeth, wash behind your ears, don't believe everything you read on the internet. Hollywood's run out of original ideas. There is no such thing as reality TV. And of course, change your password on everything you do via the internet. Change it a lot and often. At the rate we're going, once a day. Yet another tough lesson learned as Time Warner Cable announced 320,000 customers may have their private information floating out there thanks to the latest data breach. And we're once again left to conclude we are helpless in protecting such information from hackers and their ilk. But that's nothing compared to our national infrastructure, the protection of which should be a priority, but doesn't seem to be front and center in the mind of our government and major companies. Welcome back, the former director of the New Jersey Division of Consumer Affairs, author of the book Swiped, How to Protect Yourself in a World Full of Scammers, Phishers, and Identity Thieves, Adam Levin, joined by the CEO of Potenture, a business-to-business online marketing agency, John Ferrughelli. Gentlemen, I want to thank you both for joining us. John, I'm going to come to you first, seeing as we're talking about business here and Time Warner, with 320,000 customer passwords may be stolen out there. From someone at your position looking at the businesses, is it just fair to say that the businesses don't get it? They're not doing enough? Because seriously, we've known about these hacks now for years, but it seems to the consumer as if the businesses and the companies themselves either just don't care or just seem to throw it aside and say, no big deal, a few passwords, let's let it go.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that because you said about 320,000 passwords out there are compromised. It's probably triple or quadruple that at this point.
Why do you say that? You just believe that 320,000 is probably what they want to just admit to?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, it's really an epidemic at this point. And the way you mentioned it was, you said, do businesses throw caution to the wind? I don't think they really do. I feel like it's more so they don't want to deal with it until it happens. They think it's it can't happen to us, it can't happen to me. Just like anything else, we don't care until it happens. So I feel like a lot of businesses are just putting it by the wayside and not really caring.
But John, how can they be that, and again, I'm going to use a word which some people chafe at every time I use it, in light of what we know, how can they be that stupid?
It's interesting. Well, I got to tell you, I think it's more ignorance than stupidity. I wouldn't put it on stupidity. It's more ignorance thinking that it can happen to us. But when it does, then all of a sudden they're caught with, lack of a better word, they're caught with their pants down almost because they did not prepare for this ahead of time.
Adam, let me come to you on an interesting article that I found. James Anderson is a fund manager. He was an early backer of Amazon. He says it's nothing more than scaremongering in the cybersecurity industry. He basically throws this aside and says it is not that big a deal. Wait a minute, Adam. You and I have met here so many times and talked about this. It would seem as if James Anderson is out here throwing out false flags all over the place. You got to worry about this.
Seems to me like James Anderson should be the CEO of Fantasyland, because the truth of the matter is that things are getting worse. The hackers are getting more creative, continuing to be persistent, extremely sophisticated, that businesses, a lot of them are spending more money, some of them not wisely, some of them are spending wisely. They understand the fact that it's not about information technology anymore. It's also about information security. They are adding chief privacy officers and security officers. But it's a tough road to hoe. And it's all the way from Washington, straight down through. I mean, you and I have talked about the disaster that occurred at the Office of Personnel Management. We talked about the major healthcare companies where over 100 million Social Security numbers that were unencrypted have now been exposed, and that's why you're going to see tax fraud go up, you're going to see medical identity theft go up. So, I mean, we're in a situation where breaches have become the third certainty in life, as you and I have talked about as well.
It's become the new normal in so many ways. We've talked about that. Now, you mentioned Washington. Here's Josh Earnest, the White House press secretary. It was a meeting between the government and members of the tech industry designed to help in the fight against online radicalization, and here's what he said and how they're doing.
I do think there is an opportunity for there to be a robust discussion about ways we can make it harder for terrorists to leverage the internet to recruit, radicalize, and mobilize supporters to carry out acts of violence.
All right, John, Adam, very briefly here to you. We're talking about robust discussion. Briefly again, if we're moving ahead into 2016 and we're serious, what's the first thing we need to do right now, the government needs to do right now, in order to make a dent against these hackers out there? Do something substantive.
Well, you know, they passed a bill, the cyber security information sharing bill, which a lot of privacy advocates were pretty upset about. The government hasn't passed national breach notification. The government is sort of nibbling around the areas. The president's trying to do what he can do through executive order, but we have government agencies that are sieves, where information is basically taken every day. We did a 30-day cyber sprint. Many years after the fact, there should have been a cyber sprint. So, you know, we've got a lot of catching up to do. Now, I know the government's been talking with the technology companies about putting some trap door or back door in the encrypted systems.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there for 1 second because your backdoor question is very good. I only got 40 seconds left here. John, I want to come to you. Business, government, the nation as well. We're talking about infrastructure and how these hackers are getting in to those back doors. They're potentially destroying infrastructure and businesses. How concerning is that to you and the companies?
Oh, it's very concerning. I mean, look at what's happened to Target, Home Depot, even Ashley Madison. I mean, these companies who are multi-billion-dollar conglomerates are spending more money on security than most of what Main Street sees in a lifetime, and the hackers are still getting in. So, quite honestly, it is very concerning for small businesses, any business really.
And here we go, not only businesses themselves, but again, there's that infrastructure problem. There's the fact that we have power companies and power grids. We could go on forever, but it's still something that the government needs to look at, and they are not doing enough. John Ferrughelli, Adam Levin, I want to thank you both for joining us. We will continue to look at this as the road continues, hopefully towards a solution. Break out the boxing gloves. We've got some Friday punching to do. It's coming up next, right here on The Hard Line.